with Lyndon Azcuna in the Louisiana prison, the birthplace of Malachi Dad's, I think somewhere in the 2006 or somewhere. We're in the old death row, and what a great privilege at this Turn conference to interview Lyndon. Lyndon, maybe just in a nutshell, for the Chester County Prison inmates who are part of Malachi Dad's and also volunteers who come out faithfully every Monday night for the past few years. Maybe you can share some light on the history and then the vision that you still see what the Lord is about to unfold.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for, first I just want to say thank you for your faithfulness. You volunteers out there to continue to serve the Chester County Prison and Jail. Thank you for your faithfulness. And also I want to say the same thing to the men in the Malachi Dad program. Thank you for your perseverance. You're doing the right thing. And for the sake of our families and children of the next generation, the incarceration, persevere for their sake. And if not for their sake, for the sake of God. Just a little background of this ministry. I did not birth this ministry. It was God who birthed this ministry, and it started many, many years ago. It started when I was 5 years old. It started when my father died when I was 5 years old, and that was a holy discontent I've always had all my life. And I was broken in many parts of my life because of an absent father. I was fatherless, didn't know it. And you can look at the whole detail of my story. Just go to YouTube, put Lyndon Azcuna, you can go there. But I left my family at 7 years into my marriage. Left my family for 3 months, and because of all that brokenness in my life. And I went home one night, and the Spirit of God just spoke to me and said, this is the same pain you didn't want your children. I had 2 kids at that time. And that event, that speaking of the Spirit in my heart and my mind, that broke me. And it was in that brokenness that turned me around. I repented of my sin, my life, the leaving of my family, and then I asked God at that time, what do you want me to be? And what do you want me to do? And He said, I want you to be the father that I created you to be, and for these 2 kids. And then that was the birth of this passion. More than anything, I realized that God wanted me the father, that He wanted me to be the father that I was meant to be. So I pursued that. And that's before I started Awana. That's before I started Awana Lifeline. It was many years ago. And then I started Awana about 3 years later. I was in cross-cultural ministries. Wasn't even in prison ministry. Then 4 years later after that, that was in 2004, the president of Awana came to Angola prison, invited by Warden Kane. And the inmates at that time said to Awana, this children's ministry, will you help us reach our children? And we didn't know. It wasn't even in our radar screen there was such a thing as children of inmates. And they were looking around, who's going to handle this? Because Awana is in churches, suburban churches. They weren't in prisons. And so they were looking for somebody, and Lyndon is cross-cultural ministry, maybe that can fit. And so they got me, and I started working in it and investigated. But I want you to know, people make programs according to who they are. So when I came here, I saw the brokenness of inner city kids. I saw the brokenness of separation. So I said, okay, what's the problem, man? They said to me that we're separated from our kids and our family. Okay, common sense, let's bring them together. And we had Warden King gave us the open door, and so to start any program, and we brought the kids in. And I tell you, that was a powerful event, and we called it Returning Heart Celebration. Taken from Malachi 4:6, turning the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to the Father. And it was a powerful event, and we've been doing it for 5 years. And last year, in 2011, we had 621 kids spend a day with their dads here in Angola prison. Over 350 dads participating, powerful, and almost 2,000 people, including volunteers, were there. There wasn't a dry eye in the place. Tears were flowing because these men have not seen their kids for months, sometimes years, or sometimes for the first time. We always have guys who've seen their kids for the first time. Then I realized, as we got into this, is he going to break the cycle of crime in one day? And said, no. I mean, and who's really responsible for this? And so you make a program based on who you are, and I knew all the scriptures about fathering because that was my passion, that was my holy discontent. And I said, so we got to help inmate fathers become better dads. They're the one responsible for this. I can't do the job while I'm in Chicago, Illinois, and they're in Angola prison, and they're the one designed by God. So we started a program called Malachi Dad, equipping inmate fathers to build a spiritual legacy instead of a legacy of crime. And you know what? It was powerful. We had our first batch in 2007. It started in 2006, our first batch, and it was powerful. I created the Malachi Dad Pledge that caused the men to really rally together on this cause. And that was such a success that it started growing. We were only responsible for and committed to Angola prison from 2004 to 2006. In 2006, people's other prisons started asking, what are you guys doing? And then so we started expanding to other prisons. Now we're in 10 different states and 1 in Canada. Okay? We're in Malachi Dad in 45 different prisons, and we're in Returning Hearts in 9 different prisons. And then something happened. When I bring volunteers for Returning Hearts, and these dads graduate every year, all of a sudden the volunteers, the church people started saying to me, Lyndon, these dads are better dads than some of our dads in our churches. And then I remember that day, that was September 7, 2007. September 9th at 3:30 in the morning, I woke up at one of the places to sleep here, and God was impressing in my heart that this same passion for spiritual leadership in the home to break the cycle of crime also fits for our homes in our churches. Then all of a sudden my mind started thinking, we got to bring this to the rest of the world. And we got to create a catalyst event. I even just called it a catalyst event at that time, that brings outside men in here so that they can be inspired by these men in their brokenness. And then I thought about that, and now we called, and that event birthed into that catalyst event. It's now called Turn, a Sacred Assembly for Men. And we are here at 2012 Turn. We had 115 men turned out. We 86% from last year increase, and we expect another 200, maybe 300 next year. But it is an event that brings outside men together in this place so that they can see what it means to be a man of God. It's not the how-to, but it's the brokenness and dependence and heart passion for God's will for their life, and that is to lead their families spiritually. And so I thought of this event, what is the best place I can take them where they can see brokenness? So I shared this with the men, my guests. I said, I can't transform you. We have to stop thinking about adjustment. We need transformation. We have to stop thinking about working harder. We need transformation, and only God can bring transformation. And I know that, and everybody knows that, right? But I have the responsibility to bring my program, our lives closer to that. So what did I do? I thought about it this way. I said, where can I bring men where there's a picture of brokenness, where I can introduce them to men who are filled with brokenness? And then where can I do a program that has just centers on God, man's responsibility, the gospel, and Christ? And that's the themes of our program. And where do I introduce them so that all our worship, they're sleeping in a cell where men used to be broken in a cell here, and that's what Turn is all about. It's my It's an event that brings people closest to God, and then we're asking God now to feed His people. This is what I said. My job is to prepare the table. It's God's job to feed His people. He is the living water. He is the bread of life. And that's our dependence on God. This year's theme was powerless. We are powerless to build spiritual legacy. We are powerless to impact our communities and our churches. We need to trust God. So, that's the history, and our vision is God take us to the darkest places in the world, because we believe a man owning his responsibility before God, taking the gospel of Jesus Christ, the resurrected Christ, and bringing it to the darkest places in the world can solve more things than any of our programs today. So our hope is that we take this to all the world, to inner city, to Native American communities, to anywhere where there's brokenness. We want men to stand up and be the spiritual leaders of their families, their churches, and their communities. I thank you for your support, and visit our website, www.awanalifeline.org. Thank you.